What is reality? Obviously, no one can say because it isn't words. It isn't material, that's just an idea. Reality is... cannot be explained in words.
Hey yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Really Though, the Really Though podcast, where we are searching for what's really real. I'm your host, Jason P. Soto, and your other host is
Nesto Rhea.
That's a sexy last name, bro. Rhea. It's like Jason. It's like Jason Momoa, Nesto Rhea. You know what I mean? I think you could play a superhero in a movie just so you can have that last name out there. So, Nesto Rhea as Radius, the new superhero.
Radius.
I don't know what his power is. His power is he draws the best circles you've ever seen in your life. Radius. You throw numbers at him, and he'll hit it exactly every time.
Now I got to do something with that shit for sure. Like,
oh my God! The only way we can get out of here is if someone could draw a circle. If only someone could. Here comes Nesto Rhea, a.k.a. Radius.
Take that circle.
Oh, yeah. So this is episode 10, bro.
Wow, bro.
We're already on 2 digits, man.
We in it, bro. We in it.
It seemed like just yesterday we started this.
I know, man. I know. Back before COVID, dude, when we could actually be around each other.
It seems like just a year ago when we thought of this idea to do this, and here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. In the COVID still, too, bro.
I know, man. God. Still in the COVID.
Or still.
But by the time this drops, more shit is open.
Who knows? Yeah, we might even be into phase 3. What phase are we in right now in California?
I don't even know.
Who cares, man? There's so many phases.
You
drive to certain locations and you're like, hey, there's people in that restaurant. And then you go other places that look like a barren wasteland, like that.
I know. Dude, Long Beach, on the beach, they are not giving a shit. There's a few people with masks, but most people are just like, it almost looks more packed than regular Saturdays.
Yeah, I noticed that there's a lot more people. Once the beaches open up, I had to drive up PCH again the other day. And I saw a lot of people. And that, it says like you can go to the beach, but only if you're moving, like exercising or doing whatever. Man, nah, boy, there's blankets for sit down. It's tan. Right. I drove by a park today. It was they were all in their own little groups, but it was full of groups of people. Like not even that big of a park, and there was like 50 groups of people just in little circles.
God,
they tired of this shit. Right?
Yeah, I know, man.
I'll take the risk. If I get sick, I get sick, whatever.
Yeah, they're like vitamin D, bro. Just get some orange juice. I mean, some of them are really like, hey.
Vitamins, bro. Get a Z-Pack. Get a Z-Pack and see what's up.
It probably really is helping a lot more people be aware of themselves health-wise, Some of that is like a, positive that's come out of it.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost as if they have faith that they won't get sick. Which is really crazy because, it's such a coincidence because that's what we're talking about today.
It's a good transition.
Faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it. What is faith? What does it mean to us? What did it mean to us before? Now, remember, we were just talking about off pod, like how we're hitting a lot of stuff with big, broad brush strokes right now. Like we're still in the phase where we're getting used to discussing these things that have been personal to us up until now. In a public setting. And we're still getting used to the format and everything of how we're putting the pod together. And I feel like there's still foundational legs. So if we paint broad strokes across a number of topics like we're doing right now, it's like we'll get down to the details, the nit and the grit or whatever, when the time is right. But what I did want to read was I got a message from a guy I know, a friend of mine who I've worked with over the years, who checked out the pod this week. And so, you know, whatever we think we're doing out there, I wanted to read this so that you and everybody else could hear what some people might be saying about the pod. So I'm going to read this. You ready?
Yeah.
So the text says, dude, I never binged a podcast before, but the new Really Though got me hooked.
Wow.
Appreciate you guys keeping it 100. I've always wondered about that because I see a lot of kids super into church when they're young and wonder how they handle it when they get older. I was into ministry life in my early 20s, but then distanced myself because of egos and drama, some of which you guys touched on. You guys are keeping it real on subjects most won't touch. I'll be tuning in for sure.
Wow.
It's good
Bro.
feedback. Yeah.
Dude, that's worth it all right there.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Here's what I'll say about this. I know this guy not like super well, but it's like I don't know him closely, but I've known him for a lot of years. You know, you have people like that. Like, yeah, I've known this guy for 10 years, but like I've never been to his house or anything. You know, you just kind of know a dude.
Right.
But I knew he was from the church world. I didn't know how involved he is now, whatever. So what I'm saying is like something as one of the goals for this podcast that you have stated specifically numerous times is we're going to talk about things and what we've been through and issues and things that we see that it's going to put us in a position to be the people that we needed when we had questions, right? And what happens is it starts uncovering all these people that probably feel, if not exactly the same as us, like similar to us.
Yeah.
They feel that way too. And they hear somebody voicing it. Like he said, you guys are going hard on subjects that most people won't even touch, you know?
Yeah.
But if we never touch those subjects, then, you know, how do we grow? How do we find what's really real, you know? So I appreciate hearing that. You know, it's like, oh, that's dope, man. Like, interesting to know how you feel about it. Real quick, I don't know details, but about church and whatever his background is, I don't even know. But also that the pod is hitting on some, like striking a chord. And that is one of the chords that we were trying to strike with this podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to read that. Thought you'd be interested in that, bro.
Bro, that's really good, man. I've gotten some feedback from a couple people, like, you know, that have DM'd me, and it's so cool. And it's just surprising because, just like you said, like, you know, you can look at someone and just kind of judge their life on what they post and just what little you know of them. But when you start hitting on specific topics that spark, people come out of the woodwork talking about, oh, yeah, I went through this or I did that. And you're like, what? Yeah. Like you never would have guessed. Like people, you know, I'm hearing people, of course, since I put all my shit out like that are going, dude, you went to Bible school.
I know. Because your life doesn't look like that at all. You know what I know,
but it's so funny because it doesn't look like I'm not so wild out there.
No,
but still, even that just seems extreme to people. Just even that alone. It's so funny because they wouldn't think their idea of Bible school or just even like that really controlled lifestyle, like of discipline of, you know, church world. They just they see me and they're like, this nigga's wild and free, and they just wouldn't put me in that box, you know. And to think that I was hardcore, not just like, oh
you was trying to change the world. You was trying to change the world, Nesto.
Me for real, bro.
And you still are right here on Really Though. That would have been a great time to cut to commercial. We had a commercial right here on Really Though. Are you suffering from erectile dysfunction? Try this bit, like it just comes in right there, like, whoa. Those are our sponsors? Damn,
like,
son.
who are those sponsors? Right?
That'd have been a perfect segue.
Are you suffering with? Oh, bro, yeah. Dude, it's something else, man. But that, like you said, it's so funny because when we first started talking about it, I mean, in our mind, we had, I'll speak for myself. I was just excited to actually talk about it with someone that I feel safe with. It's not judgy or we're, you know, because we've got friends that how can I say, that were in that world and maybe still kind of are, that can't really handle conversations like this. Not even us going, dude, you know what you're doing is stupid or blah blah. We're not even coming at them like that, but they can't even handle like the possibilities of just expanding like the what ifs, you know, that question. Well, let's just say, okay, you're right, but what if you were wrong? What how would you respond to if it isn't the way that you grew up being taught? Right. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because some people are so dogmatic with it that you just go, God, man, even when I was in it, I felt weird when I was crazy dogmatic. It's just, I felt the support of everyone else. It was like, yeah, no, we believe that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you start investigating deeper, which now, like I said, you know, to you before, I'm not that happy with what I've found. Like, it's not like, I dug and uncovered the, you know, Wizard of Oz, who's behind it? Yay, we found out. Like, nigga, that's not making me happy.
Right. You look happy right now, bro. You got a big ass smile on your face, bro.
That's because I'm doing this with you and we get to talk about this shit. But bro, it was honestly, it was years and years of like, I didn't have you. I didn't have anybody like you. My mom to an extent. And there was like little people here and there, but there was always the extreme of either people that are all the way out of it, that are like, I don't even understand why you would even do some shit like that.
Right.
Or the ones all the way in that are like, man,
I'll pray for you.
Sorry that you're slipping, you're backsliding. Like, what happened? Who hurt you? You know, like,
exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And it's funny too, because when that happens with those type of people, they like to say something that I actually disagree with, which is, oh, he lost his faith. Have you ever heard that phrase?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, like, oh, that person, they lost their faith. And so I think when we start looking at definitions of faith and what faith really is, I don't think that we lost our faith. And I tend to think, and I probably already said this on this very podcast, that the position that you and I are taking on this probably requires even more faith than just, there's some words in the book and I got it. I don't have to think anymore about any possibilities or what the earth might be showing us or anything else. So I think that's an interesting, you know, little tidbit. So why don't you tell me what you remember as biblical definitions of faith? Let's just get into it. Okay, I'll chime in too.
Yeah. Okay. So the most popular, you know, scripture that we hear used all the time is faith without works is dead.
That's one.
Yeah, that's one.
What about faith is the substance of things hoped for?
Yeah.
The evidence of things not seen.
Not seen, right. So with that as a foundation, you know, it's like when you build on top of that definition, you get to almost erase any kind of reasoning, right? Or thought that tries to go deeper, because you get to kind of just blanket it with, well, we just got to believe. Like when you don't understand something, it becomes, hey, well, look what faith is. Faith steps out. I mean, we've seen it in movies that aren't, you know, faith-based, quote unquote.
Yeah.
People that step out into the unknown and accomplish things. We've seen it in sports. We've seen it in so many different levels of life. So Christians, it became an easier thing even to justify just blanketly believing in whatever is presented almost, and just moving forward. So I was always the context when I hear about faith from when I was younger coming up in the church world. You just have to have faith, right? It was that. So the moment you start doubting something's going to work out, let's say, or if you're going to get something or something's going to happen, it's like, have faith. So there was never like the focus on necessarily what makes sense, because faith has to override sense. And there was a lot of examples.
That's a good point. Like they would always say, walk by faith, not by sight, which is in the Bible. And then they would use that to say you have to operate in faith and not your feelings.
Right.
They would get into like, don't trust your feelings, have faith, those kind of things, different, which I feel like that's sort of what you're getting at as what you might have heard when you was, a youngin' coming up. Yeah.
And what would get me sometimes is when these things would be read, the context of the scriptures and the stories that would use faith in them, and look at how this guy, there's multiple things where they say David by faith slung that sling and killed the giant. Then it goes into another example of another giant of faith that we quote. And you see all these different examples of people that walked by faith and look at what the outcome is. Well, even back then, sometimes I would look at those particular stories and situations and consider them in a way like isolated, like, okay, that worked out for them, but you're telling me to have faith that rent will be paid without me working, and someone will take care of this situation, and we lost our car or whatever, blah, blah. And then when I do that and it didn't work, what now? Like I never heard about those situations. It's like those were swept under the carpet. There was a time when I was in Bible school and something major didn't work out. And in my mind, I was thinking about writing a book called The Day After Your Miracle Was Due, to signify like what happens to the people that it doesn't work out for. And then I see, just like with healing, and we'll probably touch on some of that, either today or in the future. What about all these people that put out their faith and were left hanging?
Right, which is most people. And the thing is, whether you're talking about faith, usually you connect faith with prayer because you're supposed to pray in faith and give it up.
Right.
Again, we've used the phrase a lot on this podcast even already of cherry picking. So you're if you wanted to prove your point, if you're a pastor, let's say, who's wanting to show that faith works, then you're going to have the guy in the congregation to give the testimony that somehow the check showed up and he was able to pay his rent, or the deal came through, or the whatever, right?
Yeah.
But there's, with every single one of those like yay stories, there's probably 10 people that it didn't work out for, or that are still struggling, right? And I know there's a lot of ways to explain it away and this and that and the other that people do. But it really is it's like the same thing as rolling the dice.
Yeah.
You're going to get, there's only a certain amount of numbers you're going to get. So the chances of you getting that number, it's like, it's either a yes or a no, right?
Yeah.
It's either like, God, can you help me? I'm putting my faith in you that you're going to get me through the situation. If you get through the situation, God did it. If you don't get through the situation, then, there's another list of reasons why, but they all require you still having faith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe, there was doubt in your heart. Who knows? Maybe this is God's lesson for you. But there's always there's never maybe this doesn't work, because of course not. I mean, it's not what is part of the belief system. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so I believe that faith is a important quality to have in a human being. It's not, you can detach it from any religious connotation, and it's still an important thing for human beings to have, in the sense of a belief or a strong confidence in someone or something, or you know what I mean, like in yourself, but having faith usually, maybe in the more correct or healthy term to me, will be based again, based in something that has evidence, right?
Right.
Like I'm sitting on a chair right now and I have total faith it's going to hold me up. Why?
Yeah.
Because of the evidence of how chairs work, how chairs are put together. I can see with my eyes that this chair has no loose screws or the legs are properly put on. So based on the evidence that I do have, I can exercise, quote unquote, my faith in this chair. You know what I mean? Right. And that's why people, you know, Christians, believers put so much weight on that one scripture that says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Like if I came in here and I only saw 3 legs on a chair, my faith is supposed to say, you can't see the other one, but it's there, sit down.
Right.
And so when it comes to normal everyday things, it might not be so dangerous. But when it comes to bigger things, you know, I hate to point back to what the world that we're living in now. When it comes to bigger things like, let's say, a worldwide global pandemic, it has a potential to kill a lot of people. You need evidence. You can't just say, we're going to gather and still be in a church. And who cares? We got some fans on that are going to blow the COVID away or whatever. Like, and the problem is, again, is that you have your confirmation bias. So let's say a church service goes off and nobody gets sick. They're all going to praise the Lord and say, see, we had faith and it happened.
Right.
But that's still not based in reality or based on, it just means nobody at that particular church had the damn thing in them. You're lucky. It's not faith. It's like you were fortunate that people didn't have it. Whereas I've heard stories about other church gatherings and then 30, 40 people, including the pastors, catch it and they're at home sick with COVID. So what happened there? You know what I mean? They were having faith to still keep meeting too. So I think I'm just saying all that to say is that even people who are believers, quote unquote, or very religious or very devout in their faiths, every day they operate in a world where they're basing their faith on evidence, except when it comes to church and God. But everywhere else, because people like to give those examples to try to prove God and why you should have faith in God. They're like, well, you don't know, did you put your car together? Did you know how the car works? But yet you get in and drive it. You have faith. See, you have faith. Yeah, I do. I have faith in the mechanics and the engineers and the, you know, and when's the time to not have faith in my car? When it starts rumbling or when a tire blows out, like, oh shoot, I can't drive it anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah. Oh yeah.
There's still like evidence and real factual truths that inform the faith that we have on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, so totally.
It's a lot of great, wonderful, smart people that just seem to suspend their disbelief when it comes to this, you know, having this faith and holding on to it. You know?
Well, also too, it's just like, you know, when you go to church, this is one of the things that I was talking about to some people at one point is how easy to me ministers have it and church has it, but particularly ministers, because, you know, immediately, like, think about this situation. Like, you get to stand up on a podium, a room full of people, and you get to talk and say whatever you want. And the majority of the crowd has such a level of respect and honor for that situation, that organization, that there is that type of energy in the crowd, faith, right? Like, you know, as a performer, when someone knows your music and they're packing out the event that you're at, the energy and anticipation of when you come up on that stage and start rocking is different than when you go to a place, still who you are, still having rocked mad stadiums and stages all over the country, but you go to a place that doesn't know you, there's a different type of energy. They don't have the same faith in you to really go, regardless what he sounds like, yay. And you've said this before too, and I hear it from like different performers, different comedians, anybody that puts themselves out there on a stage. Sometimes they'll look in the crowd and they can not only feel the energy, they see these faces that are kind of like, make me rock out. You know, like they're looking at you the whole time, and you have to win them over, right?
100%.
Churches have it so fucking easy because when you show up, there's no, listen, all the respect that's there is towards God. And the blanket belief is God puts you in that position. So you don't have to battle necessarily. Like sometimes when I watch these ministers, man, this is a tough crowd and some of you are not believing. It's like, nigga, if people didn't believe, they get up and walk out of there. They're in there because the type of
people. Oh, y'all ain't hearing me right now. You ain't feeling what I'm talking about. Somebody better get these
you got the easiest thing in the world. And dude, I wonder if you've seen this before. You probably have. But, okay, just like in comedy crowds and when there's hecklers, you see like when a comedian is like a G, they know how to handle a heckler, not get flustered, stay on point, and still keep rocking their set. They don't get so shaken that they jump off stage, start fighting, or can't finish what they're saying. Sometimes there's hecklers that are so dope that they can really throw you off your game. Well, I've been in church, meetings where it's not a heckler, but it's like a heckler. Someone will shout out something or say something out of pocket, out loud. And the ministers have to rely on ushers to go and usher those people out. I haven't really seen a minister stand his ground on a question from the audience or the crowd. You haven't seen that, bro. And yet the book that's the foundation of their whole religion and faith is Jesus constantly being heckled, called out of pocket, and standing up against religious people constantly, and not saying shit like, we're not going to talk about that. Hey, Peter, John, get this guy out of here. We don't see none of that. We see him battling back and forth verbally with shit, and then even sometimes seemingly getting frustrated and saying, you fool, like what we talked about before. Basically, dude, and walking off, right?
That's true. You know what's funny too is that we're talking about our homeboy Benny Hinn a while back. Take it again, brother. Dave, pick him up. So he's what's known as a faith healer.
Right.
So by faith that he releases, supposedly from the Holy Spirit within him, people's ailments get healed all over, right?
Yeah.
He's a faith healer.
Yeah.
Right now, even if you go to his website or whatever, it says all faith healing events are shut down due to COVID-19.
Bro.
I'm just saying. So
listen, let me say something real quick.
Go.
Leprosy back in the day was considered like the worst, like most disgusting. I mean, people have boils on their face.
Limbs would fall off, your arms would just fall off and shit.
Yeah, bro. It was a visual thing. And one of the G'd up things that, we grew up hearing about Jesus and some of the disciples that followed him is the kind of healing power that they walked in was even when they'd come up against leprosy, they'd heal these people. Like that was never like a, I have to go away for like 40 days and then I'll be back. We'll talk about it later, or come see me at da-da-da.
Right. But the thing about that is that these are stories in a book.
I know, but dude, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that these stories are ones that are the foundation of the faith.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So then now in this day and time, we should have hubs of people with COVID coming so that we can heal them. This is the time for the church to really show off the power of God. For real. Like,
but you would
think they would almost be like this, like, oh my God, now they can't deny it. Bring them in. Let's do this.
Finally, yeah. But they're not going to do that because life tells you what's real. And if you're just honest and you don't try to pick and choose and close your eyes to things that don't line up with your quote unquote faith, then you'll just be honest about things. You know what I mean? It's like none of that is happening, has ever happened. There's a lot of things that are, let's say, unexplained. Like if someone wow, you know, we didn't think this person was going to recover from cancer, but they did. We thought they'd be dead in 6 months, but it's been 6 years now and they're alive or whatever. Stuff like that does happen.
Yeah.
But just as much as that happens, more so, the doctor says you're going to die from cancer 6 months to a year, and then 9 months from now, you're dead, whether they prayed or not. So that's what I'm saying. It is still like the rolling the dice.
Okay, what would you say to the camp meetings throughout the years, and usually overseas, like in different countries, where, because this is what I would hear about a lot, like, you know, America is so conditioned to the American lifestyle that people's faith is like really, really thin. It's real small. It's not strong. It's not, hasn't been worked out, because that's what you have to do with faith. Right. It's like a muscle. You have to build it to believe, which is true with athletes, people that were considered like, you're not going to be a good actor. You're not going to be a good this and that. And they pushed and overcame those obstacles because of faith. Right. So what would you say about these places in other countries where they would have mass healings? People were getting healed of AIDS, people supposedly arms growing, eyes growing, like mad shit.
It would have to be, number one, substantiated. Did it really happen? If it happened, or not? Because some people like to, you know, fudge up the numbers a bit a lot of times on shit like that. So what I would say is a couple of things. One, faith is an effective tool. Like those athletes you just spoke of that believe in themselves, they're able to achieve amazing things because they have this high level of faith in themselves, right?
Right.
Or if they genuinely have faith in their God, that their God's going to help them, they start to act in accordance, right? So there's two things that happen. I think there is such a thing as a placebo effect. Like when people get a placebo, here's the sugar pill versus the real drug, and those people still get healed. There is, I can't fully explain it, but there is something to having a belief system or having some sort of faith that's so strong that mentally something does happen. I do believe that our bodies, and just us, who we are, there is some incredible things that we can do.
Yeah.
You know, that maybe go beyond our understanding of what happens on a day-to-day basis, because it's not happening all the time, every second. You know what I mean? Instances where people do amazing things or just believe in themselves, or, you know, we don't know, the lung cancer is gone or whatever, you know, like that shit happens. But more times than not, it doesn't happen. Well, going back to what you asked me, I wanted to give you an example. And so how do I say this? Okay, biblically, starting from the Old Testament, God said that that the Jewish people were his chosen people, right?
Right.
So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of years of people having children, and those children for their whole lives being told God himself has chosen us, the Jewish people, to be his people, to run the planet, right?
Right.
So their faith in that word and their belief in that word is so strong that historically they've acted on that faith in such a way. I'm not here to, you know, I don't have any, like, I'm not no conspiracy, like Jewish people are bad, they're doing something nefarious. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying when people say that Jewish people are incredibly successful, make a lot of money, you know what I'm talking about, right? You've heard these kind of things.
Totally. Yes.
I say, why wouldn't they? If you believe that God himself is your king and that he said you are the best people on the planet, according to God, the guy who created the place said you're the best. Your faith in yourself and in what your capabilities are should be through the roof. I want to teach my children to have that kind of faith and belief in themselves, that anything is possible. That you get what I'm getting at?
Yeah, no,
So
totally.
Hopefully I'm answering your question. So if somebody is in another country that's not so modernized or so whatever, and they're more susceptible to believe in like, yeah, that sounds awesome, and they can dump all of themselves into it wholeheartedly, I can't explain exactly what that is, but I think sometimes things do happen. You'd have to substantiate the claims first. Sometimes things do happen, but sometimes things don't too. And there's plenty of examples where they don't. So you can't just say, man, this dude didn't die, so it must be real. God must be real. You know what I mean? You have to say, you can't just say, we don't know why, so God, which is what most people do.
Right.
You can't do that.
I know. Also, like, you know, for the listeners who aren't like, you know, into the Bible or, you know, growing up in the faith and stuff, like there was a time period where, let's just say, like, as an example, this guy, Abraham, you know, God made a covenant with him, like a pact, like how, you know, we mentioned before, me and Cook could say, dude, from now on, listen, because you saved me or helped me in a situation, whatever you need and your family needs, I'm gonna take care of them. I'm gonna put money in the fund of your kids or whatever. So supposedly this God, this entity, you know, I would say like an alien, made a pact with a man, and because of what the man was or did, whatever, he says, I'm gonna bless all your generations specifically. Let's make it as if other men didn't like this alien God or whoever, like they were against it. But Abraham stood up and was like, I'm down for you in the face of other wild shit, right? So he makes a pact. So all his generations are blessed. This is what people, after all this time, even without knowing the details of the story or whatever, they've been handed this treasure that was a pact, almost like if the mafia, you know, you saved a family member and then they were like, this nigga's family's taken care of forever. Well, you have a shield over you and a protection, whether you believe it or not, that's what you're under. But if you grow up, like Jason said, hearing it constantly, that feeds into you a type of security and strength. So here's a point that we can talk about right now within all this that's really, really powerful and very specific is, regardless of something is real or not, if you believe in it, it's real to you.
Yeah.
So when you operate in that thing being real, evidence follows it. It's not that there's a person particularly backing that up, but somehow the substance of you believing in something hardcore starts producing some type of energy. That's what we have to talk about, because it's like what we mentioned about falling under the power, dude. In concerts, let's just talk about Michael Jackson and Prince and the Beatles. Like, bro, there are people that were hospitalized when these dudes were walking down the street, let alone in a concert, from the energy. Now, some Christians, when I was growing up, would say that was devil energy. That's the false kind, right? The point we're making
this kind was fun though, bro. Michael Jackson. Prince.
The point is, when you put your faith in it, how can you determine the different energy? They both feel the same and they produce, like, what's it called? The like endorphins. It's like scientific, dude. It's like they've done studies on when they would walk in and tell a kid the kid is going to Disneyland in a week or something, right? And how that affects them. And then when it's leading up to the day that they're about to go, walking in and going, we're not going. What? You were never going. But for a week, the kid was on a high.
You act different. Yeah, I think I agree. So there's a lot that goes into that, but the key factor is it boils that back down to us.
Yeah.
We are the common denominator as human beings in that scenario.
I know, dude.
No matter what you believe, because people believe a lot of stuff and put their faith in a lot of stuff outside of the Bible, outside of the chakras and crystals and fucking sage and Santeria, and there's a gazillion things out there, and shit seems to happen in all of those things.
Right.
Like you said, Christians would just say that's demonic. But there is some sort of a faith component that I think we just have in us innately.
Uh-huh.
We want to believe.
It's magic. It's almost like it's almost like a form of magic, because there is healing to it. There are people that have been healed of depression, like a lot of different things, just because they put their faith in a specific thing and it worked for them. Yeah. The hard part about all of this for me was I wanted to be right, bro. I wanted our thing to be right. And I wanted to find all the answers, all of the proof and the evidence, so that when I gave it out, I'd be so confident, dude. Like I walked around like that in junior high a little bit, but mainly high school. So crazy, because the information that we had at that time, there was no internet. People couldn't study the same way. So the things that I was studying and researching, because they were even other books and shit, it made me feel so strong. So by the time I got to Bible school, I was questioning things that most students weren't questioning. They were just on the basics of the Christian faith, right? And I was like, when I went to certain classes and was hearing stuff, I was digging even further. But that's the whole thing, dude.
Right.
It's like, if you decide to dig further in almost anything, you get hired at a job at a basic level, and you start, and you were excited about it because on the outside, all you saw was like what you saw online, or what you maybe visited this job and was like, oh my God, this place is dope. You start working there and talking to some of the no-nonsense people that have been there for years, and they start going like, oh, just so you know, here's what really goes down here. So you're going to have to like decide, and it could burst your bubble, bro.
Of course.
All your faith was pumping you up and getting you excited to work here. And then you get there and hear, this is what goes on, and it could either crush you, or you could become, what's it called? Like, what's that where you just kind of like dead to stuff? Like you just like.
Apathetic.
Yeah, just kind of like, and you just go along. You know what I mean? Knowing what's true, you don't place your faith almost in anything, because this is all bullshit anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a tough thing, because the majority of the world just wants to believe. Don't show me no details.
But that's how we do church and how we do a lot of stuff. You're right. It's just like, we got told it sounds cool, so let's just roll with it, right? So I think, we've kind of talked about, and we can't really speak too much on what other religions teach, but basically like the religious viewpoint of faith. I mean, I was just sitting here thinking like, faith is the substance of things hoped for. I've said that so many times.
Yeah.
That actually really mean? It's like the substance, the actual matter of like my hopes. Like, God, I hope it works out. And then there's a piece of Play-Doh that's just going to form into the thing I need. Or it's a very strange thing, but it's what that whole thing is based on, the evidence of things not seen. So it's like, what I was going to say, okay, before we leave that, cause I want to just get like a dictionary definition of faith, and just, let's see what it is. Right.
Cool.
I wanted to say this thing. So, substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So a lot of people, like I was saying a few minutes ago, whether it's crystals or whatever, practice faith that seems to work out. But and I'm not an expert on this, but I did hear an expert one time speak on this years ago, and it has resonated in my mind, and it's actually helped me to, in the way I think about these type of topics, whether it's faith, confidence, belief in yourself, or also even like self-mastery or trying to achieve certain goals and having your mind stay and stuff like that. Our minds are obviously, as we know, really powerful, right?
Right.
And, one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
The very first words it says in the book is this words: thoughts are things, right? Thoughts are things, meaning that what you put your mind on, like you said, if you believe it, then it's real. That's similar to what that's saying. When you put your focus, your mind, and you decide on something, or you want to go in a direction, or you want to create something in your life, or have some sort of success or some sort of thing, all of these things, all your favorite movies, Nesto, they all started as thoughts.
Yeah.
And then they became things, but they were already things inside of a person's mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They had to exercise faith enough to start typing. Then they had to say, now I have a thing that is an actual thing. It's crystallized into words now. And then they have to have faith even when they get turned down until finally the movie gets made or whatever.
Right.
So thoughts are things. So our brains are really powerful things. And they drive us to do things too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The way I learned it is like the way our subconscious mind works. It doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy, right? So like if you close your eyes and you show your subconscious mind something that's not actually happening, but let's say you want to buy a Lamborghini. You want to buy a Lamborghini, don't you, Nesto? Why not, right? And this is not a guarantee. People teach this as a guarantee, and then people base their lives on this. But you start creating the things you want in your mind, and you visualize them, you see them over and over again. If you really do that and you mix it with the feelings and emotions and all, like I can smell the leather and I can see the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you open your eyes and it's not in your real life, right? Hey, I'm driving a fucking Honda. Where'd my Lamborghini go?
Right.
Since our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what we showed it when we were fantasizing or visualizing and what we see in real life, you create like a dissatisfaction in your brain, right?
Right.
So your subconscious mind will start going to work, like new ideas, and all, like you'll see things you didn't see before. Just like when you start saying, hey, I think I want to buy this type of car, then you see that car all over the streets everywhere, right?
Right.
All of a sudden it's on your radar. Well, you put something enough on your subconscious radar over and over and over and over again, and now your subconscious mind wants that thing. It's going to look around for it. It's going to, how can I have it? How can I create a plan for that? Like what is, who, and then you're always talking about it. So people now know it just you do create your own thing. And the more you kind of talk to yourself about it, you're going to start to have faith in that thing and start to believe it.
Right.
Here's the thing. Like I said, I've heard people teach this, what I just said to you, like as another capital T truth outside of the Bible and everything. We got this other just visualize it over and over again with your brain, and you're going to manifest it in your life. People love the word manifest nowadays. It pops up all over. You could just manifest it, bro. Vibrations. So manifest. Just get your vibrations high and manifest.
Right.
Again, it all boils down to you, the person. And what I really believe is that we have powerful minds. And our minds create everything. We're talking on Zoom. Zoom was created by a mind or a group of minds. And we're talking on devices that were created by groups of minds, that these devices didn't exist before, but somebody had enough faith to believe that what's in their mind could actually happen.
Yeah.
So it's not woo-woo or magic. It's just, if you do have enough faith in whatever it is you're believing in your brain, then something can, for lack of a better term, manifest in the reality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here's why I said all this stuff too, is because I think a lot of times when we look at faith and when something actually happens, it's usually because of something where our minds are at. And I'm not denying the fact that there is something kind of awesome and magical about life without a God, without even involving church, religion, God, Bible. This fucking planet is amazing. The shit we create is amazing. Our fucking brains and the way our bodies work is fucking amazing. And we can't even explain half the shit. I mean, doctors pretty much know what's going on in our bodies, but like, damn, bro. And no matter what you believe on how this fucking planet got here, whether it's God or whether it's not God, it is fucking amazing. Either story is amazing, mind-blowing, some shit we can't even understand. So there still is a lot of shit outside of us that we cannot understand. We can't explain everything. We can't always say this, that, and the other. But I just can't say, well, you know, that was God, so let's just put your faith in God, because whatever we can't explain, we put God into that slot. Like I can't do that. So, but that's not to say that faith isn't in action all the time, in big and small ways. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just want to say all that because what I was going to say next, I guess I'm veering off, is you brought up a scripture in the beginning that says faith without works is dead. So to me, like the faith is like the placebo, you know, it's like, it's not really doing anything other than triggering the person. Like what, all that stuff I just said, you keep showing it, your brain gets triggered. It wants to, shit, I'm trying to get this. And then you do something. You do a lot of somethings, whether it's continue to visualize, then you get up and when you open your eyes, you're like, what's the new idea on how to make that a reality? And then you start doing shit. And 9.9 times out of 10, if you look at people's faith claims or stories, either them or other people or them and other people did some shit. Just saying God did it. You got to be honest, man. We prayed, and God gave us the money for the building fund. Look at this new church building. Isn't it beautiful? We bought a stadium. We own a baseball stadium now because God, no, motherfucker, you're a good speaker. And you preached that giving shit and your people gave you money. People did it. People gave you the money. And it's no different. Like people go to doctors and then say, thank God he healed me. Bitch, you took those antibiotics. Don't tell me you didn't take the medicine. Or you took the medicine, and now you're gonna say God healed you? He didn't. Human beings.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Then on the flip side, like on a negative type of outcome, then what they do is they cover for God. So if somebody dies that you've been praying would not die, and you've been believing and speaking that God is gonna heal them, watch based on him healing other people, and then they die, then it's like must have been God's timing. The fuck?
Right.
So he allowed you to just keep praying to him, even though he knew, well, it's not the time, but I like the prayers though. So I'm just going to take this one out. I mean, even when I was believing hardcore, I still would stick up for God within those scenarios and go, listen, this isn't a God situation. That's not a God choice. I felt like it was like the example of someone who's the manager of a building, you know, or the owner of an apartment building. That person doesn't control all the people that are inside and what they do. They still could break the law or not. They could burn the place down, party, they could do whatever, but he's still the landlord or the owner. So he gets the credit when things are good, and then he gets blamed when things are bad, regardless of what he's done. That's the dilemma that I know we'll be talking about for the length of this podcast is, you know, on even the, is God real? Well, if he is, what is he? Is it a he? What's it? Like all that stuff. But my whole support system that I could not let go when it came to a lot of this is maybe we've given power to a person, a level of power that this person does not even claim or have. Maybe it's us shouting, yay, when in fact it's someone going, because even when I was in my heyday of like ministering and talking about this type of shit, I would talk about the fact that, well, look, Jesus only spent 3 years on the planet actually preaching, and then he just cut out. Think how many ministers that have been ministering 20 years and bragging about that shit haven't done half the things he did. And I felt like he bounced, when I would talk about this, he bounced within that little amount of time because he didn't want the worship. He didn't want everybody clamoring to him. his big thing was, when I leave, the Spirit is going to be in you, and the works that I've done, greater works will you do. So I'm out. Like, stop worshiping me. The Spirit of God, the power is in you. That, I mean, when I read that, it was, some people were like, yeah, but that's kind of mystical teaching. Well, nigga, call it what you want. That shit is in the book that we are claiming is our foundation, whether it's mystical or it's new age.
Or whether
the power in you. Yes, the power is in you. So do shit. Take responsibility for what you're doing. Stop pushing it off on the devil or God or whatever. You take responsibility. When are people going to have, just like we were saying, the faith on that scripture, that they'll be doing greater works than what he did? They're not, bro, because we just, in the Christian world, it's one guy speaks in a group setting of a massive amount of people that never get to say anything, and like sheep, they just kind of bow and follow and obey. That's a security blanket. Yeah, that their faith, to an extent, it's a security blanket. I can't knock it, because I understand outside of it, bro, not everybody can be confident like you. They can't go, look, just look at it for what it is and just live, because there's so much that feels empty with that reality. They don't even want to consider that's a possibility, bro, because it makes us look too alone. Yeah, it means we've been abandoned, bro. Just like Prometheus. Did you see Prometheus? Yeah. I wanted that to be a lot better. But I did. I know. But the architects, remember how they
those
went
weird, like, pure milky white guys.
Right. And they were like, why did you abandon us? What happened? Why did you leave us? And this nigga just killed them. No answers.
Kills him.
Like,
shut up. No answers. What? Well, I believe the one thing out of the thing you just said is the no answers part. Yeah. I don't know how many answers we're going to get. You know what I'm saying? We may never get answers. That's why we have to deal with what we actually have. We have to put our faith into things that are not the evidence of substance of hopes. No, nigga, this is real. This computer, I could put faith if it doesn't turn on, then I could put faith in the fact it needs to be repaired.
Okay, but people will say this. This is what they'll say to that. They'll go, okay, well, then the moral compass that we have that sustains us as humans, right, keeps us like on the track of not raping and murdering, it goes out the window, because those are laws of God. That's what they'll say. Okay, so if you were saying that to me,
Nesto, I would say, so what you're saying is the only reason why you're not raping and murdering people is because of a book. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person. It's because a book is telling you not to do it. Is that what you're saying?
But this is what they'll say. This is what they'll say to combat that. They'll go, no, it's not because of the book, but without the book, a lot of people in their own nature, because they say we're in sin nature, that's what they would end up doing. So because of the book, we have this moral compass, and that's what our country is founded on, the principles that are in there keep us sustained. Almost like this, because listen to this. I mean, these are arguments and questions floating around. So it's like, just like our nation has laws set in motion, supposedly for our benefit, to keep us safe, traffic laws, all that. Now, because they know the nature of people, some people aren't going to abide by them, so they have to have law enforcement. They have to have a group that enforces the law, and then inflicts a type of like, you break the law, then here's the penalty for that. So that's what's in place, because they just don't trust that people are going to see this green light turn yellow, then red, and really wait. So then they got to go like this. If you don't wait, you may be a good person, but you're going to suffer because you might accidentally hurt someone else. Right. So a lot of people believe that these type of morals, that's God-given. Right. No, I understand. If you don't believe that there is a God that wants that type of order, too many people would be like, I'm just going to go fucking nuts then.
I say, where's the proof of that? If the person is making a supernatural claim, then the burden of proof is on them. Nobody showed up to fucking the Constitution writing and said, "Hi, I'm God," looking like fucking Dr. Manhattan. "Hi," with some glasses on. "Hi, I'm God. Here's the reason why you guys are going to write these laws, because me and what I said. And it ain't even true that our nation was founded on." We're getting way off topic, by the way.
I know, but that's
it ain't even true that our nation was founded as a Christian nation. That's not true. What? There were believers, yes, all along.
The dollar says, "In God we trust," bro.
That was added way, way later, bro. And you know that. You're baiting me right now. You're trying to get you know, "In God we trust" is added way later.
Oh, I know. I
don't doubt that. I don't doubt that Christians and men of quote unquote faith were there when writing the Constitution, but this was not founded to be a Christian nation. It just wasn't. I mean, Thomas Jefferson himself is famous for taking all the miracle stuff out of the Bible and rewriting the Bible with no miracles and no supernatural things at all. Just taking like the morals and principles and putting it like that. That's how much he didn't believe in that type of shit. So that's another. We're getting
yeah.
Let's end with this. I really want you to hear what Siri has to say as far as what faith is, and then we can talk a little bit about it.
Okay, cool.
It kind of tripped me out because I was like, let me just see what Siri says. Siri, what is the definition of faith?
Which word? F-A?
She didn't hear me. What is the definition of faith?
Complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Do you want to hear the remaining one?
Yes, I do.
Strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion, based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof.
Did you hear what she just said?
Rather than proof.
Based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. So watch this. Let's see what she says. What's the definition of apprehension?
Anxiety or fear that something bad or unpleasant will happen.
Say that again.
Anxiety or fear that something bad or unpleasant will happen.
So according to Siri, which is just taken from the dictionary, that faith in a religious sense is mostly based on spiritual apprehension rather than confidence or belief. So it's more so based on a fear of what might happen.
Yeah. Yes.
If you don't do it. I thought that was pretty interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But some people think
it's just like the whole thing. So. It's just like the whole thing of heaven and hell. You know, that was the moral compass for a while of what would keep people in line is fear of going to hell.
It's also why people nowadays put forth the argument from morality as a reason why there must be a God, because of morality.
Right.
And if you want to know why we even have that thought, it's based on similar to what you just said, that kings partnering up with priests created a system because they knew that religion is something that could control the people.
Yeah.
You can put them within these parameters and they'll stay in them.
Yeah.
And that's where the idea of morality and this and that come from, like, well, God, if you don't, it doesn't promote critical thinking for yourself or whatever. And there's tons of people. And you can always say, oh, you got it from God. Like there's tons of people that have never had religion in their whole lives and they're not murdering people. They're not raping people.
Right.
Matter of fact, some people who are quote unquote scary secular humanists do way more for community, for other people than church folks do.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. And it's not to say that church hasn't done a lot of good stuff in the name of faith, in the name of God, helping the poor, helping the homeless. But by and large, there is a shit ton of non-believing heathens and demonic, whatever you want to call them, that are out doing great things too. And they have morals. And their moral compass is well-being for all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you want well-being for everybody, if I want well-being for you, then I'm not going to kill you. Because that's not your well-being.
Yeah. And think about this, dude. This is what I find interesting too, is like the religions that respect other religions, that almost take it like what we're doing are practices that we believe works for some people.
Yeah.
And then there are practices out there that work for other people. That's something that the Christian faith cannot accept.
No.
And so, what?
That's like, for Christians, that's like you own a McDonald's and you say, nah, but the Whopper's pretty damn good too. Like, you should try that shit. If I own a damn McDonald's, I ain't saying that shit to nobody. I'm saying Whoppers suck. Whoppers suck, bro. You like Chick-fil-A?
Right.
Fuck Chick-fil-A. We got a chicken sandwich. Come on down to Mickey D's. We got that chicken sandwich for you.
Yeah.
The best one. You know what I'm saying?
That to me is like the purest level of the equality and the openness. And then there's the side that's like kind of like us with movies, with music. It's like opinion based, where certain things we like, some other people have that same taste. Their taste buds are on that too. It's like, oh, and then sports, same thing, where people then get real serious with it, or playful serious, where they're like, no, my shit's way better than yours, bro. So-and-so is better than, or this is better than, right? Mm-hmm. Now, within certain parameters, we all can go, whatever, and we can fake fight against that shit and enjoy it. There's like a fun energy to it.
Yeah.
With Christianity, it's so serious because it is saying everyone outside of this is wrong and dying. You know what I mean? So that pressure on me when I was young felt like, damn, dude, we gotta save. Everyone is wrong. It was so scary. Yeah. And then I know there's other people that are like, no, everyone is right. There's that extreme, like, it's all right. There are some people that believe there is no right and wrong. There's only perception. Because just like a child that grows up in a family that's a family of terrorists, all that kid knows is the beliefs of the family. So it grows up hearing what it hears about America. Yeah. Some of that shit is probably true. And then gets to a point where they go down that same path of like, well, here's what you do because they're wrong. So if you look at them and go, well, where's God in that? Like, where's the mercy for a child that grows up into bullshit? They still have to suffer. Like, there's no kind of understanding that all of this is suggestive to an extent, because wherever you're formed, that's your bubble. That's your bubble of belief of what is and what isn't.
We talked about that. It's indoctrination. It's all bullshit. It's all man-made, and it's all like what you said. It's all people just trying their best to figure out. And at one time, the idea of God was helpful. The idea of faith in that respect was helpful, and just because technologically speaking, scientifically speaking, we just didn't know. So they're like, that was a way that they could make sense of the planet. They're just like, shit, I'm on the planet. What's that big ball of light in the sky? What is this? And you start kind of creating this sort of narrative. It's like, you'd be like back in the day when you were just hunter-gatherers and shit, and the wind blows the damn bush. Well, you have to have had faith that was a tiger or a lion, not the wind, to stay alive. There's certain beliefs you just felt like, I'm just going to have faith always that that's a tiger.
Yeah. And
I'm not even going to try to investigate that shit. I'm out. Because otherwise, he's going to eat my son.
Yeah.
So it's like that idea, it's kind of created and shaped patterns in us, where like even now it's like, I'm going to err on the side that he's up there because, oh my God, hell, or something terrible. Like it said, the apprehension on the other side of saying that is way worse. So I'm not going to say that was just wind. I'm going to say God's doing something. So, because otherwise I'm afraid of what's on the other what's on the other side of that faith. You feel what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah.
So let's bring this in for landing, bro. So what are your final words on faith? And this is not your final words, because I know this is going to come up time and time again, but
I know.
So
I know.
How would you sum it up?
So I'd sum it up in faith being a powerful, powerful thing. That's not really, the origins of it are not religious based, I wouldn't say. I think it's in the nature of humanity to have a belief. Like that's in our nature. It's a triggered energy. You know, there's if you look back at the ancient hominids or whatever, if you go way back, like hunter-gatherers, there's faith that's being used on a day-to-day basis in so many small ways that you can't even, your mind
absolutely
comprehend. So, you know, on a broader scale, I'd say it's kind of like, I mean, we've either mentioned it off mic or I've said it before here, like the scene in The Matrix where Mr. Smith is talking with Cypher, and Cypher is on the deciding, you know, factor of, he's like, I know the Matrix is fake. I don't want to live in the real world. I'd rather go back in the Matrix, erase my memory of all this bullshit that I know, and make me someone famous. I think the majority of the public, you know, not just projecting, because I know I feel like that now. I admitted to that. Like we talked about that, I admitted to it. But I think the majority of the public feel that, in a sense, you know, that they have the questions that we do. They are legitimate. They've seen too many faulty things, you know, and things not work out. So their faith is more like, I'm just going to do this because it's safe. Everybody's kind of organized. I get it. And it's like, I don't feel too much of a tug of an issue, which now I used to judge people about that. But now I almost feel like, dude, I'm with you, because I mean, I don't necessarily want to go to a Sunday service and do all that shit. But I am at a standpoint where I'm just kind of like, man, this is hurting my brain. I don't know where my faith lies, because I'm just really just living day to day. I really just want to help people. I want my faith to be in helping people, creating art and stuff that's inspiring, but to put it in the unknown, as far as I can go right now, it's on some alien type.
Aliens.
I mean, some people talk about more, but I mean, you know me, as with conspiracies. When conspiracies come out for me, immediately I'm like the old time Christian type. Like, I believe it. I will believe it first and then dissect it.
We're backwards from there. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, fuck that shit. Where's the proof? And then we just meet in the middle. We're just like, into the middle. Well, I'll say this on my final note. When I told my story and I said that I finally said, fuck it in my life. You remember my philosophy?
Yeah.
What was really happening was I was putting my faith in what I could actually control, which was me and my actions and what I was going to do. And once I did that, my life got a lot better. I started actually creating and doing the things that I actually wanted for me, truly deep within my soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So many good things came out of it. A great family, you know, financially, I started doing a lot better. Even my solo career, I was able to build back up to a level, you know, that I wasn't even sure I was ever going to have after I released my first album. I wasn't sure if I'd ever have like a career again in music or make money off music again and all that. And I was able to do it. So all in with this, the scripture we said earlier that hits me a lot is faith without works is dead, right? Mm-hmm. And the way Bible scholars usually say it, and I understand their viewpoint, is that faith, that just means that faith without the proof or the evidence of works in your life, of God doing something in your life, means that you didn't have a true conversion, or it's not, you don't really have faith, right? Whatever.
Right.
That's fine if you want to say that. But let's look at it from just a different viewpoint. Faith without works is dead. So meaning if you ain't doing shit, then your faith is dead, right? Okay, so take works out of that statement, and faith is dead. So meaning, I don't care what you believe in, what holy book you believe in, what God you pray to. If you pray to the universe, if you put out crystals and burn sage, or whatever the fuck you do as a spiritual practice. If you sit in your room and burn some incense, or try to pray or meditate, and because you need money and you need a job, and you don't go outside and apply for some motherfucking jobs, then your faith is dead. You ain't getting shit, right? So really, the key factor is you and what you do, or what people do is what makes shit happen in your life. On any level, even spiritual shit. You can call whatever spiritual, man, I got to the next plane of the vibration, whatever the fuck. It's based on some shit you are doing. And there's no evidence of anything else.
Except DMT.
Well, that's a substance. It's a chemical substance that you're taking that is releasing something in your brain, which is a chemical that your body develops already.
Right.
All I'm saying is I can have more faith in DMT taking me on a nice trip than I can, you know.
Right.
And so that all I'm just summing it up with that is that
right.
9.9 times out of 10, whatever people attribute their happening to their faith, I had faith and it happened. There was probably either them or people around them that actually made that happen. I believe God would give me money and get me my rent for the month. And he did. How? Well, my sister called up and she got a bonus this month and she gave me $500. Well, your sister fucking loves you. And she probably knows that you need a rent. And sometimes people don't know, that's cool. But sometimes people just give you money because they love you.
Yeah.
You can say that God did it or God talked to them. You can say whatever you want, that's fine. But it still has the element of people doing things. So I encourage everybody, believe faith till the cows come home. Put your faith out there if you want. But do some shit. Do that work. Because if you don't do work, ain't shit happening in your life. I don't give a fuck what God you believe in. Whatever you believe in, whatever the fuck, it ain't happening. Yeah. And a lot of people go out and do shit and they ain't thinking about faith at all. They just put in the work and shit happens. So work without faith is not dead. But faith without work sure is dead. That's to me. That's where I'm in.
Yeah.
At me. You want to fight me? Don't at me, bro.
No, it's true. It's true. And when I was growing up, like the works, like the translation of the word works, they said was corresponding action. So faith without corresponding action, like the actions that are going towards that faith is dead.
But it still fits with my criteria, brother.
I know, dude. And also to your point, you know, that's one of the things that I was digging at and even seeing that when Paul, just real quick, when Paul broke down what the church is, that we as the church are the body of Christ, when you look at it deeper and you go, oh man, like we're eyes, we're hands, we're like, we are the body. Like he's gone, we're the body on the earth. So when you pray for shit to get done, no. You're supposed to be the hand of God. You're supposed to take care of people, that shit. And people would sit there and be like, no, I'm praying for God to do it. And I used to go, no. He said we're the eyes and the hands on the planet. We're supposed to be doing it. Not just congregating together in a building, listening to someone talk shit and making their financial dreams come true. We're supposed to be taking care of each other. Hello. So when me and Cookbook start our church, that's how it's going to go down.
That's how it's going to go down. We're going to call it the church of what's happening now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Really.
We're going to call it the church of let's get this money.
Let's get this money. Let's give this money.
Oh, yeah, man. All right, well, we're going to get out of here for this week, man. I have faith that this episode about to end. You know how I know? Because I'm going to push stop on the recording. It's what I'm doing, yo. And if I didn't have that work, that shit might be dead,
bro. Works in.
But, yo, we talking a lot of shit, but the reality is we still out here searching for what's really real, right? Yeah. We're open. We're going to stay open like a 24-hour freaking 7-Eleven. We staying open.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. And send us in your testimonies of some shit that actually has some evidence that really worked. Found stuff, whatever, man. I mean, we're
talking about it
for all of it. Because I got some wild stuff, and I know in the coming episodes we're gonna get into what was that really though, because I've got some things that have happened. We've all been touched,
of course,
and feel like transformed and stuff. And it's like, okay, then what was that if that wasn't this or that, right?
Yeah. All right. So on that note, we getting out of here, bro. And that's a good episode, bro. I like your style.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it,
man. Cool, brother.
Hey, yo, let me tell you this one thing, though, before we go. Before this river becomes an ocean, before you got to have faith, faith, faith. I got to have faith, 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 baby.
I'm putting that on.
All right,
that on for sure.
Thank you very much, guys. ReallyThoPodcast@gmail.com is the email. And click the link. Buy some socks. Buy some merch. We might even make a Really Though poster with our faces on it like this. Who knows what we're going to do. Click on that merch store. Please subscribe. Leave 5 stars. You know, leave a little review even if you don't like it. Who cares? Give 5 stars and hate on us. We don't care. But it really helps us in the rankings, helps us, you know, get known out there in the podcast world. It really does. Yeah. So please do that. Share the podcast with your friends. Put it on your
and watch us on YouTube.
Yes. Subscribe to YouTube.
Only like 5 views in the last one.
Do all the shit that you're supposed to do, man. Please.
Help us. Help us.
Your faith without these works is dead, and we'll die if you don't do it. Really, though. Really, all right, y'all. We out of this. Searching for what's really real.
The point cannot be explained in words.